I have studied all of the copy and material out there about ideal customer profiles. We have trialed and battle tested it with those 20 founders and on our own business. I have chopped out everything that doesn't work, everything that quite frankly confused me, and created the simplest, most direct route to creating your ideal customer profile that's actually going to work for your business. And we have solved this in our own business for minimal viable launch to the point where we have added more revenue into our business in the last quarter than we did for the entire last year combined. We are having our biggest months consistently, and I put that success all down to finally getting very clear on who our ideal customer profile is. Today, we're going to be talking about creating an ideal customer profile that will actually grow your business. This is something I'm super passionate about. It's something that we have conquered recently in my mind, I think, with our own business that has resulted in serious growth. We now have the problem of, keeping up with that growth and all of the difficulty that scaling brings. I know, drying my eyes with dollar bills here, feeling sorry for myself, but those are two different problems, right? You have the problem of getting customers, and then once you have them, they create problems of scale. So we're going to be talking about how you do this in a practical sense. And what I want to say to you today is that not knowing who your perfect customer is actually killing your business. You not having a clear example of 5 to 10 people that you know in real life, in your network, that you can point to and say, that person is an absolute perfect match for my product, is killing your business. Because when you have that idea, when you have that clear vision, it gives you so much conviction on what you need to do to go and find 5, 10, 100 more of them. It makes you stop feeling like you are guessing with what you are doing, and you know with high conviction that actually if you put this marketing campaign in place, this sales strategy, this content out, it will attract more of them. And I want to say to you, we need to move away from this idea of having these fluffy customer personas that are made up of fake people. I want you to be able to point me to 10 people in your network that fit your ideal customer profile and make them real, because when they are real, you are going to believe in them. If you knew who the ideal customer profile is, or who your perfect customers are, these are the things that you are going to get in your business. And this is what I'm going to teach you how to get in your business today. You would be able to find more of them easily. You will go from guessing to being certain of where you need to show up to find more of them. It will stop feeling like a game of chance. You will be attracting people who are excited to buy your product. So no more sales calls where it feels like you're trying to sell something that they're really not that interested in. They are going to be excited to buy what you are offering because it's created exactly for them and for people like them. They're going to pull their wallet out and they're going to pay you what you are worth. So no more lowering your prices, no more giving discounts or messing around with freemium models or free trials. This is a group of people who are so perfectly aligned with what your product does and are so well matched up with the mindset that you need them to have that they just pay you, and they pay you handsomely, and they don't balk at the price. And they will see your product as a must-have, not a nice to have. So this will become something that they absolutely need, they are willing to pay for, they are excited to pay for, and they keep paying for time and time again, rather than viewing it as something that, it's okay, but as soon as the price goes up to the full price, I'm probably going to cancel it. We're going to help you escape that trap today with the practical steps I'm going to show you of how you build a solid, ideal customer profile. How are we going to do that? I'm going to tell you exactly what an ideal customer profile is. You'll see it written as ICP from now on. I'm going to show you the difference between ICPs, ideal customer profiles that work, and those that are just a bit of a kind of exercise in, creating up creating characters that don't really exist in the market, and show you that when you have these elements that make them work, this will rocket forward the growth of your business. I'm going to show you how you go about actually creating your ideal customer profile, and what the process of that looks like. And then I'm going to finally talk to you about evolving your ideal customer profile, because once you nail this and you start growing in your business, your ideal customer profile will need to evolve as your business evolves, as your prices go up, as the number of customers you are serving goes up. You will need to evolve your understanding of who that is, and it will change over time. It will change over time. And I guess before we go into that, the reason I think that you know, I have some expertise to share on this, in the last 12 months, I've helped 20 founders in our one-to-one sessions actually identify who their ideal customer personas are, target them consistently, and add significant amounts of monthly recurring revenue to their bottom lines just through this framework alone. I have studied all of the copy and material out there about ideal customer profiles. We have trialed and battle tested it with those 20 founders and on our own business. I have chopped out everything that doesn't work, everything that quite frankly confused me, and created the simplest, most direct route to creating your ideal customer profile that's actually going to work for your business. And we have solved this in our own business for minimal viable launch, to the point where we have added more revenue into our business in the last quarter than we did for the entire last year combined. We are having our biggest months consistently, and I put that success all down to finally getting very clear on who our ideal customer profile is, and I'm going to talk to you about that evolution at the end of this talk. Okay, so what is an ideal customer profile or persona? It is, simply put, illustrated in this diagram here. It is a combination of factors that someone in the market has that you can look at and say, yep, I am certain that they check this box. And I've put it in this little diagram here because the ideal customer profile is the person who sits in the middle of all of these rings, who ticks all of these boxes, and not everyone you encounter in your market is going to be able to do that. So your perfect customer is right in the middle there. What are these sections that we're going to be diving into? They have to have a burning hair problem that you are able to solve. That is rule number one. If they are not suffering from a problem that your product solves, they are not going to buy from you, no matter what you do. Or if you manage to convince them by hook or by crook to actually do that, then they're not going to be very happy with the product, and they're probably going to churn out of it. So job number one is make sure that your ideal customers are suffering from a burning hair problem. We then need to make sure they have the ability to pay. They have the money and resources to put their hand in their pockets and sign up to your product and actually pay you for it. So no more freemium, no more doing work for free for exposure or any of that stuff. We are going to find customers who can pay you and pay you the rates that you need them to pay you. They also must be findable. So they have to be a certain type of customer that is easy for you to target repeatedly again and again and again. And I'm going to get into a story of a marketing campaign one of my friends told me about, which she said it was the hardest thing they've ever worked on because their customer was so hard to find. And I'm going to show you all of the ways that that's going to make your business incredibly difficult to scale. And scaling a business is already one of the most difficult things you'll ever do in your life. Having a customer who is not findable is like playing the game on hard mode. And then we have to find someone ultimately who has the willingness to pay you for what you do. So that is someone who values their time more than their money. And we're going to dive into all of this. The cherry on top of all of this is your ideal customer profile should be someone that you can deliver a great result for or a remarkable result for. And the reason we say this is once we identify who these people are and you start getting traction with them in your market, it is very important that you deliver on the promises that you are giving them on the front end before they pay you money. And if you do a great job, which is basically your only job as an entrepreneur, is to do amazing work for people, they will reward you by recruiting other people who are like them, who fit your ideal customer profile, and you will start getting traction in a direction that snowballs, rather than what I would bet many of you are experiencing when this ideal customer is a little bit more fuzzy, where you get referrals, but sometimes they can't afford you, they don't really get what you do, it wasn't the right kind of referral. Doing this well, getting very clear on your ideal customer profile, will help you get referrals that you can actually capitalize on, and those referrals are the rocket fuel that you need to scale your business rapidly. The pushback that everyone always gives when we are talking about niching down your service to focus on one ideal customer is, but there's so much opportunity out there in the market. There is so many people we could help. Our product is for everyone and it can help anyone. And I want to say to you, the fear that comes up there is founders think, if I niche down, I'm building myself a prison. I'm saying it's only this type of customer that I can ever serve again in my business forevermore. That's literally not what we're talking about here. What we're doing is we're defining your perfect customer or your ideal customer, and we are aligning all of your sales, marketing, and innovation efforts around making that person really happy, so that we get cut through and resonance with them, and you get tractions with more people who fit that profile. It doesn't mean you can't serve people who kind of don't fit that mold absolutely correctly, right? Absolutely 100%. You will still do that in your business, but you will focus your efforts on your ideal customer profile. And your ideal customer profile is discovered over time in a journey. It's not like you're going to make a decision and then that's it for the next 20 years. Your focus will change as your business changes and evolves. So don't be scared of this. This is the way that once you put this in place in your business, you will realize how much more simple everything comes from a strategic decision-making perspective, and how much more effective everything you do is. If you don't have this thought out, if you don't have an ideal customer profile in mind at all, which I would bet many of you don't, everything is a guessing game, and you're kind of playing the game of chance. You're stumbling around in the dark, hoping that you stumble on customers that can just so happen to pay you for what you want, what you do, like what you do, and value what you do really well. That's a dangerous place to be if you are pre-product market fit, because you only have so much time to find those customers before you run out of money and you go out of business. And that's a disaster. This is the shortcut to finding more customers who can pay you what you want more quickly. So I encourage you to take on this challenge and get there. What actually makes an ideal customer profile work and what makes them not work? We've talked about these 4 pillars here: the burning hair problem, the willingness to pay, they have to be findable, and they have to have the ability to pay. The burning hair problem, we've talked a lot about on this channel before. It's this visual metaphor that we use, which is your customer's head is on fire, right? They have an immediate and pressing need. They can't ignore it. They are in pain. And you have a horrible, disgusting, rusty bucket of water that's filled with dirty, horrible, slimy water that you would never normally go near. But in this instance, your customer is ultimately willing to dip their head in that bucket and put the fire out. That's how great this problem is. And you are going to not only be able to offer them this horrible bucket of water, you're going to be able to charge them for that. And this is super important in the early stages of your business, because it takes time, effort, and money to create a product that is super slick, that has all of the bells and whistles, that the vast majority of the market would accept and pay for. You're not there at this point in time in the beginning of your product. You have the horrible, janky bucket of water where things are still kind of being cleaned up and cleaned out. You're not there. So we need people who are willing to go on that journey with you and use whatever you've got. And someone said to me the other day, which I absolutely love this saying: if your product is great, it doesn't need to be good. And what they mean there is, if you are solving a serious problem for someone, they will put up with it being a bad product in the meantime because the idea and the problem you're solving is so great that they will jump through as many hoops as you ask them to jump through. They will put up with bugginess, with friction, with jankiness within your product because you're doing something that they really, really value. So that is the first order of the day. If you are not confident you are solving a serious problem, I would go back to square one immediately and really get clear on what the burning hair problem is that you and your company are solving. Because if you don't have this, everything is much, much harder. Okay, so the willingness to pay. The willingness to pay is this idea that in your market, there's kind of two types of people. There are those who value time more than they value money, and there are those who value money more than they value time. And you have to target those who value time more than they value money, because if they don't, they are the kind of people who roll up their sleeves and they ask you for the guide or the education or the link. They want to do the hard yards themselves, do the research and try and solve the problem. They're the people who don't take their car to the mechanic garage, they put it on the lift in their front garden, take all the wheels off, and they're sat under that car hood, tinkering around with it, but that car doesn't go anywhere for like 2 months because they're spending time rather than paying the expert mechanic to come in, do two things, get the car fixed and get it back on the road. That's fine, but those people aren't ever going to be your customers. So you have to think, in my market, who wants to speed up progress to solve the burning hair problem? And by speeding it up, they're going to have to spend money. But what they get back in return is time, which is vastly more valuable than money can ever be, because you can always make more money, you can never make more time. Time is a finite resource. Money is an infinite resource. And then they have to be findable. What does this mean? When we say they have to be findable, they have to be a customer that you know where they hang out. You know that if you turned up in that environment, you would encounter people who match your profile. Exactly. And I'm going to tell you the story about my friend who was in the marketing team of a company that was creating a product to help people who had been given the power of attorney over their parents' finances because their parents were suffering from things like dementia. Now, they wanted to go wide with this product, and the marketing challenge, she was saying, is one of the most difficult things they've ever worked on, because how do you find those people? There's no directory or job title that you can find to have these people, like a list of 2,000 of them, right? It kind of can be anyone with parents who are suffering from dementia who have also given you power of attorney over their finances in specific countries, right? So the thing that they ended up having to do is find partnerships with associations who might know these people, but it was, they could never have a direct one-to-one relationship with those customers. It was always through intermediates who those customers approached because they needed help with something. And they had to go on this long content creation journey of laying in a ton of high value work online to help people in those situations, right? They had to attract customers to them. It is playing the game on hard mode. If you haven't scaled and exited a business successfully before, I would encourage you to try and work out if there are people that you can more easily find if you feel like you're in that space, because it sucks not being able to do a LinkedIn search and come up with 2,000 people who might buy your thing. So make sure they are findable. And then lastly, they have to have the ability to pay you, right? I say this all the time to my customers. I am a filthy, horrible, horrible capitalist. I'm always asking them, where's the money? Because we're not running a charity, we're not running an NGO. And if you are, you're probably on the wrong channel, because this is about creating a business that creates something so valuable people pay you for it and pay you for it repeatedly. If your customers do not have the ability to pay you for what you do, you are going to struggle to generate the revenue from them that is the lifeblood of your company. A lot of people are funny at talking about money, but if we don't make profit, your company dies. Profit is the oxygen your company needs in order to survive and thrive. And if you don't find people who have the ability to pay you what you're worth, you're going to be lowering your prices. You're going to be trying to create resources in your business that they can interact with for free. Now, that's not to say that you never do anything for people who can't afford your services. I feel this tension. But where we have to start at the launch of our product, we have to have people who can pay us. And when we find those and we build significant revenue, we can start to play the role of Robin Hood slightly, where we can start to take the resources from those who have the ability to pay us, and we can use those to fund initiatives to create low cost or free resources for the people who still have that problem, still want to buy that problem, still have, we can still find them, but they just don't have the ability to actually pay us what we'd need to make it a profitable business for them. We can play that Robin Hood role and use, rob take from the rich and divert those resources to the poor. But you can't do that at the start of your business, because your business will die and then you will help no one, and that's not good. So when you have all of these things in place, you are rewarded with your ideal customer profile. And again, I want to say this to you. This is not a fake person. I don't want to see you come back to me and say, I've created my ideal customer profile. Here it is. And it says, it's Jenny from Southampton, who is a divorcee, earns £44,000 a year, smokes 20 a day, and is part of an amateur dramatics group. What does that help you? Those ethnographic-based personas, which is where you create basically someone fake based on data, and then you try and create a character around them, those have never ever helped me scale any business, and I've never seen them work with any of the founders that we mentor in scaling their business. Because they're not real people, they're fake, and everyone knows they're fake, and so they have low conviction in them actually being useful, and so they don't get used. I want you to be able to say to me, this is my ideal customer profile, and that exactly matches up with this real person in my network that I have done business with, and here's 5 more of them, and here's an entire list of them that I'm targeting. They need to be real people, because when they are real, you'll get conviction that this is the right way to go, and then you will be able to grow your business. So how do you create this? What's the actual process of this? It is fundamentally, it is a process of elimination. You are not going to sit there and have your first guess be absolutely correct in this endeavor. This is a journey you are on. You are going to launch your product. You're going to have a vague idea of who needs what you do and why, but there's going to be nuances in creating this ideal customer persona profile that is going to be difficult for you to fully work through right at the start. It's going to be a process of elimination. It's going to be a journey that you go on. And that journey looks something like this. It looks like you identifying your total possible market. So this is everyone who might ever need the product you are creating. And inside that market, inside that gray square circle that you can see here, is mini markets. These are mini clusters of people who have similar traits, beliefs, hopes, fears, dreams, and problems, and economic circumstances, right? There's these mini clusters of markets within that total possible market. And your job is to identify as many of those mini markets as possible, and then go on a journey in which you start to define and say, well, actually, that's an interesting market. That market right there ticks 3 of the 4 boxes. I'm going to pursue that and try and speak with 10, 20 more of those people, work with 10, 20 more of those people, and learn as much about them as I possibly can. And when you start to do this, you'll find that inside those mini markets are smaller mini markets, more niche focuses. And inside that niche, you will find a small cluster of people who tick all 4 of those boxes, of those circles that we were talking about earlier in the diagram I showed you. And that's your ideal customer profile. But you will not nail it on day one unless you are super lucky or you have a lot of experience building businesses serving that profile before. It is a process of elimination. It's something you will need to discover, but the first step is identifying the total possible market, then identifying the distinct types of customers within that market, and then thinking through those four requirements and saying, who has the biggest burning hair problem? Who has the willingness to use money to solve that problem? Who has the ability to pay the money I want to solve that problem? And who is actually findable within this market that I can target reliably, repeatably, again and again? And you will start to have an idea of who your ideal customer profile is, and then you will evolve it as your business evolves. So let's talk about that evolution and what that looks like. You have to, ICPs are discovered. They're not guesses. And the reason they're discovered is because if we were to do that ethnographic version where we take marketing-based data and create the fake profile, that is a guess. That person does not exist in any actual reality. And it can lead us wildly astray, especially if it's not done correctly, and they're quite hard to do correctly. And so you will be starting with a guess, and then you will go on a journey of discovery to see where you were wrong and what you need to refine. And that's totally fine. That's totally okay. And I encourage you to be wrong. It's better to have a wrong ICP that you are working on refining with gathering real insight from the market than it is to have something that's totally perfect from the get-go, because it will not happen. And I want to show you how this process actually happens through the story of how we actually evolved our ideal customer profile here at the Minimal Viable launch. And it's only been in the last 4 months that I think we've really nailed this. And the transformation in our business since I've become clear as the founder of exactly who this is has been remarkable. It has made marketing easier. Our content is getting the most impressions and engagements it's ever got. Our content's actually gaining us customers. We have been invited into groups of our ideal customers to work with them. And I am getting referrals from people who are so square inside of that ideal customer profile that when we have sales calls, that my customers are now starting to say to us, man, that's really cheap. You should raise your prices. Oh, I know 5 more people who need this service. And we actually are struggling to keep up with that demand. This is the power of really nailing this. So this is what you can have. So here's where we started. I decided 3 years ago that we wanted to create a company that helped anyone who wanted to launch a tech startup, right? I had the experience of doing that. I'd worked in really large scale tech startups. I'd done some side projects, and I attempted to launch my own tech startups as well. I thought, with my UX design skills, product management skills, I could help people launch better startups. Those people had a burning hair problem. They wanted to launch quickly because they felt they'd spotted a gap in the market, and they were really scared that someone else would actually spot that gap as well and launch before them. So they had the burning hair problem, but we kept encountering the problem of some of those people didn't have the willingness to pay. Some of them were technical people who were like, yeah, I'm not going to pay you to build anything for me because I'm going to do that myself. That's almost the fun. We had loads of people who had no money whatsoever, and so they couldn't pay us for what we were doing. So our prices went lower and lower and lower and lower. We had no profit. We were struggling. I was burning through my personal savings to actually keep the business afloat at this point. Things are super stressful right now, right? And they were very hard to find because it was basically anyone who wanted to start a tech startup. So it was people who had an idea. Well, there was no LinkedIn search for that. And it was very frustrating to try and work out where the hell are we going to find 10 people like that? That's all I need. But we just couldn't do it. And so we scratched that one out and we said, that's it. We're going to evolve the ideal customer profile. And now we're going to use what we learned from our experience of trying to work with people and we're going to refine it. We're now going to target non-technical founders who wanted to launch a B2B software as a service web app, right? These were people that we could deliver amazing results for because I had a ton of experience in the B2B software as a service web app world. I've worked at some of the biggest startups, biggest companies in the world in that arena, and I've launched massive products in that arena. So I had a lot of experience. The reason we nailed this down to non-technical founders is because it solved the willingness to pay problem. The non-technical founders couldn't roll up their sleeves, or were very unlikely to roll up their sleeves and learn to code and get this thing built. And so they had the willingness to pay us because it was basically they were going to have to find someone somewhere to pay to get this thing built. So it solved some of the problems, but still most of them didn't have the ability to pay us. So most of them were still coming to us and saying, I love what you do, it sounds great, it looks great, but I just don't have any money, so I'm going to go on a massive journey of trying to raise investment, of trying to write grants for Innovate UK or other local funding options. And it would be like, I'll see you in 9 months when I have the money. And I would say, oh God, they've fallen for like one of the deadliest traps startups fall for, is they're going to spend 9 months raising money when they should have spent 9 months getting paying customers. And they were also still completely unfindable because again, it was still anyone who had an idea. So this started to work a little bit better because as we became more known for doing B2B software as a service web apps, we would get referrals at least in that world. And sometimes those people had the money, sometimes they didn't. But we still didn't have our ideal customer profile because it wasn't like every time we found one of these people, we knew 100% we were going to work with them and we were going to do a great job for them. And so we evolved this further. We scratched that out in December last year, and I set out the strategy for 2024, and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to now target non-technical founders who want to launch a B2B software as a service web app, and they must already be running a successful service business. And suddenly, we solved the last two pieces of the puzzle. We had a group of people who had the burning hair problem of they saw a gap in the market, they were afraid that someone else was also going to see it and launch before them. And they needed someone who had the expertise, like myself, to help them understand how they can launch a tech product in the B2B SaaS space. They had the willingness to pay because they were non-technical, and so if we didn't help them build it, they were going to have to find someone else to help them build it. So they had the willingness to pay. They were also already successful business people, so they've learned the hard lessons of you should always be buying back time relentlessly in what you are doing at the cost of money. They've learned that lesson, and that's why they are successful business people. They also had the ability to pay because they had a successful business that was revenue generating, cash flow positive, which means these are only people who run service businesses at a certain scale, certain size. They're not brand new entrepreneurs. And they have the cash flow that they can start to allocate because it's overflowing in one business to risky bets that just might change their lives. And they were excited to do that. And so this is where we've now started to have the feedback from our customers who are going, oh, is that all it costs? Yeah, there you go. And I'm starting to think, okay, our price should be going up. And the last piece, the beautiful piece, is that they became findable because we could search for businesses of a certain size who had a founder in charge that I could reach out to and invite to a conversation about launching custom B2B SaaS web applications to supercharge their service business. And it just so happens to tie into this wave of disruption with AI and custom software, and everyone's going nuts for it. And so suddenly, the 4 pillars of the ideal customer profile have aligned in our business, and we have done more revenue in the last quarter than we've done in the last 12 months. And we are consistently setting new records again and again and again. And I was saying to my team today, I'm level 10 stressed in my business because we have too much scale too quick. This is now getting painful, not because we're scraping around for work, but because we have a consistent source of leads, referrals, and ability to find more. Our content is getting resonance, and we are getting known in the market who really values what we do, has the ability to pay for it, has the willingness to pay for it. And so that is the power. If you manage to identify that version of your ideal customer profile for your own business, that is what it will unlock for you. And it is magical. It feels like a dream when it happens. You will feel so much more certain of exactly what you need to do to grow your business further. That is the reward you get when you unlock your ideal customer profile, one that works, that ticks all of those boxes. So hopefully you will agree with me that I've delivered on the promise. I've showed you what an ideal customer profile will give you for your business. I have showed you exactly what an ideal customer profile needs to have in order for it to work for you and your business. I've showed you how you go about creating that, and that it's going to be a process of discovery that you're going to refine over time. And I've showed you the process of evolving this ICP, this ideal customer profile, again and again and again, getting more specific and more right and ticking more of those boxes until you have certainty that all four are ticked. And when you do, your business will feel like it just clicks and you will love it. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. So we will edit this up, put it on YouTube, and if you get stuck with identifying your ideal customer profile, send me a message. I'm always happy to help talk through some of that work with you. Thank you very much.